today. Let's have a seat. Martin is going to bring our Torah Drash for us today. I know it's going to be a good word, and he's going to bless us. The Lord bless you.
Thank you. Hey, Shabbat Shalom. And allow me a few seconds to say thank you for once again inviting me, not only for the conference, but also to bring the message today. And I would also like to thank you for the warm greeting that you always greet me with every time I come. It means a lot. The way you come, you hug, you shake hands, you ask questions, how is everybody back home, how are you? This is all about today's portion of the Torah. This is about how we take care of each other as a family. And so I always look forward to come in that door, and I know you are waiting here for me. Happily, well, Martin is here. Hey, how are you? On the other hand, I would also like to thank my congregation back home, because I wouldn't be here without their support. They are there supporting me, and also I would like to thank the worship team for playing that last song. In fact, you are my hiding place, because we as leaders, we have our dull moments. Sometimes we feel we are all alone. But we know that God is there. He is pushing us. He is helping us. He is walking with us. He is holding our hands. Amen. So here we are. Parasha Vayera, he appeared. We are in the period where we are talking about Abraham, who out of all the patriarchs is the most distinguished. In fact, Yeshua referred to him when he answered the Pharisees. Stephen mentioned him in his last speech. And Abraham's faith is referred to in all the Messianic writings. We, as Messianic believers, we claim the faith of Abraham. Indeed, Abraham is the father of our faith. But what's so special with Abraham that made him eligible for this title? Why did God, out of all the patriarchs, chose Abraham? What was so special with Abraham? And why not Enoch? Enoch walked with God, and he was so righteous that God took him. Why not Methuselah? Methuselah was so righteous that God waited for him 7 years to pass away until he started flooding the earth. Why not Noah? I mean, Noah seems to be the perfect candidate to start again with from the very beginning. Through Noah, mankind was saved. Had it not been for Noah, there would be no people on earth. Because of his righteousness, Noah is the reason why mankind continue. And yet, he is not the founder of our faith. So why Abraham? What is it that he had that made him the best candidate to achieve such greatness in God's eyes? And this week's parasha, this week's Torah portion, has all the answers. So many beautiful stories about Abraham. And each story tells us something. So there's a lot to learn from this parasha. In a nutshell, Abraham was a hero. He was big. He saw a damaged world and he wanted to repair it. He had what we call the Tikkun Olam vision. And such vision meant that for Abraham, God had to come first. And this is why we are seeing the world going in the direction it is going. Because nobody wants to put God first. Everybody wants to put himself first. It's all about me, me, me. But not with Abraham. Abraham looked around him, he saw what he saw, and he said, this is not good. And he wanted to fix it. He wanted to do something to fix the world around him. That's why God chose him. But again, in whatever he did it for the glory of God and not for himself. And unlike many people today, they want to achieve greatness for their sake. You find people talking like, how can I heal all the diseases? Find a cure to heal all the diseases. But how can I do it? I want the glory for it. There are those who dream of starting like a multi-million worth company and get rich. And their desire is to get rich. It's all about them. And the goal of such people is always how to achieve greatness for their sake, for their glory. In fact, this is what destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. The pride, the I, what I want, what I need, what I like to do. But what are the Torah perspectives on greatness? And the answer is found in Abraham's life, especially in this portion. It's full of beautiful stories, but they have no meaning if we do not understand what each story is telling us. For example, Abraham, he single-handedly brought the concept of a one powerful God. Long before the commandment of thou shalt have no other gods before me was written. He left his father's belief of polytheism and embraced monotheism. He believed and trusted only the God he knew as El Shaddai. And his faith was only in him, in his El Shaddai. But we talked about Abraham's faith last week, at least in my congregation in Malta. I talked about Abraham's faith last week when we read Lech Lecha. And in fact, in Lech Lecha, Abraham was introduced to us. And it's in chapter 12 of Genesis. And many people think that Abraham's life started in chapter 12. Many believe that nothing happened to Abraham before then. But we know through the oral Torah and from what the sages teaches that Abraham's life started long before him being mentioned in chapter 12 of Genesis. In fact, in Parashat Lech Lecha, Abraham was set free from his previous lifestyle. He was literally born again, which makes you think. Because many people think that the concept of born again is something that we find in the story of Nicodemus in the Gospel of John. But actually, it is a Jewish concept. Born again means to leave everything, and this is what Abraham did. He left everything behind him and started a new life, away from the hustle and the bustle of Mesopotamia. Abraham is now born again and set free. Now he is no longer how rich he was. It's no longer about the palace he used to live in. It's no longer about the many gods of his father. It's no longer about King Nebuchadnezzar. He's born again, so now it's only about God. And this week's parasha tells us about other qualities that Abraham had. And we read, in fact, in this parasha about the amazing acts of kindness from Abraham. Again, not for himself, but for the glory of God. Through his deeds, Abraham was a light to the world around him. Through his acts of kindness, he was projecting a part of God's character to those around him. The loving kindness, the merciful, the merciful side of God. You can see all this in Abraham's. But above all, the Torah says that he not only projected God through his kindness, but also God commanded his household and his family to do the same. Commanded Abraham to command his family to do the same. And he commanded them, he instructed them, he taught them how to walk in God's way. Now, we as Abraham's children, because we all like to say that Abraham is our father, but it does not stop there. If he is our father, we should have inherited his spiritual genes. Like if Abraham commanded his household and his family to be righteous and to do justice, this is what we should be doing. Righteousness and justice are also part of God's character. And we as believers, we must be kind and pursue justice. In fact, we can say that we are living in the days, like in the days of Noah. But when you talk to people about living in the days of Noah, what they do come up with? Giants. Waiting for aliens to come from planet Nibiru. Because that's what they've been taught in their Sunday schools. Even Shlomo said that the writing of many books gives you headaches. I mean, you read so many different books, and he was right. Because you read different books and you get different ideas, and everybody's coming up with what he thinks that God is saying, when actually there is only one book that we need to read. But again, this is exactly what we need in the world right now. We want to be kind to other people. We need to practice justice with other people. Why? Because the earth is full of evil. And this is what the word means when it says in the days, it will be like in the days of Noah. It's not about giants, it's not about aliens, it's about the earth full of evil. And when we look around us, this is what we see. Practically, I'm a little bit relaxed this weekend over here because I'm not watching the news. First thing I do when I go home after work, I make a cup of tea because we inherited that from the British. I turn on the TV and I watch the news. And it saddens me. There's no good news on the news of the television. So here I'm staying away for this conference. So I don't know what's happening around. I only know your kindness. I only know your greetings. I only know the warmth you are sending me. But again, we are surrounded. We are living in a world full of evil. And it is through righteousness, kindness, and justice that we can repair this world. This is how we, as believers, can achieve the Tikkun Olam. This is what is needed if we want to repair this badly damaged world. That's what Abraham had in mind through his kindness and his righteousness. Now, if we are his clones, we should have inherited that spiritual genes. Now, something scary that we talk about is like, you all heard about the sheep dolly that was cloned, and then they cloned rabbits and mice, and I don't know if they stopped or whatever. But the worst thing that can happen is clone people. But here we are, clones of Abraham. Righteousness and justice are what Abraham commanded for the people to be able to fix the world that surrounded him in Mesopotamia and later coming out of it. In fact, building these notes, I came across a beautiful midrash Actually, I try to read it every year because it's beautiful. And it talks about Abraham coming out of Mesopotamia, and on the way he saw this palace that was on fire, and Abraham wondered. And he said, is it possible that this palace has no owner? Such a beautiful palace on fire and nobody is trying to... Where's the owner? To throw the water, to put the fire down. And the owner of the palace looked out and said, from inside the palace, I am the owner of the palace. And this is compared to what Abraham, looking at the damaged world around, he asked, is it possible that the world lacks a ruler? Could God looked out and said to him, I am the ruler. I am the sovereign of the universe. And God is still the ruler of the universe. He is still the ruler of this world. In fact, he is the only one who can repair this world. But like God looked at Abraham to repair the damaged world back then, he is now looking at us, Abraham's children. He is looking at us to fix the damaged world. And God is still in the fire. But he is waiting for us to do something to put that fire out and repair the world. Like Abraham, God is waiting for us to act kindly and justly. And it was for this reason that we read in this week's Torah that Adonai appeared to Abraham. It is because he was righteous and practiced justice that he received revelations directly from God. In this Torah portion, it was revealed to him that he was to become a father by this time next year. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was revealed to him in this Torah portion. And we also know from what Yeshua said that Abraham saw the plan of salvation through Yeshua's death and resurrection in this parasha. It is because he was righteous and just that God said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? And what was one of the things that God revealed to Abraham? You ask this to people out there and they tell you the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they tell you, he revealed to him that he's going to be the father of many nations. And they are right. But that's not all. He told him that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. Believing only in the God of Israel, living a righteous life and do justice is what having the Abrahamic faith means. Again, we as his clones, we need to act like he acted. And this is what Yeshua also referred to when he said that we are a light for this world. Abraham was a light for the people around him in those days. This is our time. We are born for such a time as this. If he wanted us to free physical Israel from the power of the Romans, he would have created us 2,000 years ago. But no, we are here today. And our job is to fight this spiritual fight against this kind of evil in this world today. We project that light when we live a righteous life and do justice with others. Like with Abraham, through our love, through our deeds, through our actions. And people would want to know about our God. It is our duty to bring the people in, to bring the nations in to Israel. Only God can do it. But he wants us to be his stewards. And we can only do that by being kind and show justice to the other people. I believe that my God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I strongly believe that he is still in the business of talking to his people and to those who seek him. He is still in the business of sharing wisdom and revelation to his people. Now, I'm not one of those guys who say, the Lord told me, the Lord said this to me, the Lord told me. No, I don't go there. But you know what I mean when I say, like Yeshua said, my sheep will hear my voice. Actually, that's why I'm here. One day, I will get to give you my testimony. And you will know the Martin back then and the Martin today. It's because I heard his voice. God is still talking to his people. And when Yeshua said, my sheep will hear my voice, he was not only talking for calling them to return to him, but also to instruct them in what role they want to follow. They need to follow. But like Abraham, we need to get out of our Mesopotamia. We need to get out of our Babylon. We need to stop listening to the world around us and be able to hear God's words. Back in Malta, many people tell me, but how can I know what my calling is? That's simple to ask. A very simple question with a very simple answer. And I try to tell them that Jonah's calling was not for him to go to Nineveh. Jonah's calling was to worship the God of Israel. And then when he worshipped the God of Israel, God could give him the job that he wanted him to do. So what is your calling? Our calling is to worship the God of Israel, the God of Abraham. And then other things will follow. Sometimes it's like little things that God is telling us. Like Yeshua says in the Gospel of Luke, someone who is trustworthy in a small matter is also trustworthy in large ones. But you start with the trustworthy of a small matter. But like Abraham, we need to fully trust in God. Even when something seems for us like a stupid thing to do. Like Abraham, we need to spend time in God's presence so we can hear what he's saying, what he is asking from us. I remember in the beginning of my walk, I used to work at the church that I used to attend back then. And I used to work there, so I woke up one morning, put on a jeans and a t-shirt, and I'm going off to work. And I felt in my spirit, Martin, take a tie with you. And I said, why do I need to take a tie with me? My job is just sitting in the office in front of the computer, doing what I used to do. Why do I need a tie? I went into the office 10 minutes later. The pastor called me and said, Martin, you're coming with me on TV. In an hour, I have to go back home, change, go back to the television studio. It happened twice. The second time, I felt in my spirit, Martin, take a tie with you. So I got a tie, and I went all dressed up. Not in jeans, not in a t-shirt, but with the trousers and a shirt, and a tie in my pocket. And again, the pastor called. He said, Martin, you're coming with me on television. I said, yes, I know. We only need to stop doing what we think we want to do and allow God to tell us what we need to do. We need to be in a position where we can hear him, like Abraham. Listening and obeying what God is saying to us helps us build our faith. This is what the faith of Abraham is all about. Like Abraham, we are also tested. I don't know about you, but I'm being tested daily. And a small test, as small as a test might be, it is there not for God, but for us. When God is testing us, it is there for us to help us grow. God already knows the outcome of the test. God already knew what Abraham will do when he asked him to sacrifice Isaac. But still he waited till the last minute, until he was generating all his power to bring the knife down. So why test us? Again, a test is not there for God to know whether you are good or bad. A test is there for us to change us. And why do we need to change? We need to change so God can use us for His glory. The tests that Abraham had to go through were not for God to know how much faith he had in him, but it was because God wanted Abraham to be steadfast in his faith so he can fulfill his role. Again, this is what we were talking yesterday coming into Norwich. The pastor took me for a coffee, and we were talking about the need of being steadfast. We are born for such a time as this. We cannot allow fatigue to take over our bodies. If we are commanded to bring the nations into Israel, we cannot give up. Feeling tired is not an excuse. As I said in the beginning, yes, there are days when I'm feeling tired. But I have to do what I have to do. The rabbi knows what I mean. Like this morning, I was all warm and cozy under the sheets. I wished I could have stayed there. Believe me, back home in Malta, it's all sunny and hot. And here, yesterday I had to go and buy a jersey. And I love it. And this morning there I was under the sheets at the hotel, and then all of a sudden I said, oh no, I have to wake up, shower, go for breakfast, and go to the synagogue. Yeah, we cannot allow ourselves to lay back and do nothing. And this tells me that there is a reason why God is testing His people. God has a purpose for those who He calls. Now, not everyone is called to be a rabbi. Not everyone is called to be a leader. Not everyone is called to be a member of the praise and worship. Not everyone is given to write a book like our brother here. Congratulations, by the way. I enjoyed reading the book. Not everyone is the eyes, as Shaul says. Not everyone is the hands. Not everyone is the feet. But there is something that we are all called to be and do. There is something that Abraham had, which we need to also have in us. And it's in this week's Torah portion, Genesis 17. For I have made myself known to him, so that he will give orders to his children and to his household after him to keep the way of Adonai and to do what is right and just. So that Adonai may bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. Abraham's job was to teach his children, us. Abraham's job was to teach his household, us, to be righteous and do justice, to be kind and do justice. And this means that having the faith of Abraham is not only believing in the one true God. It's good. It's good. It's good to believe in the one true God of Abraham, but that's not all of it. We, along with our belief in the God of Abraham, we need to have actions. We need to show our actions. We need to do something. As James says in his epistle, thus faith by itself, unaccompanied by actions, is dead. But someone will say that you have faith and I have actions. Show me this faith of yours without the actions, and I will show you my faith by my actions. And actions, because of our faith, is what I want you to take home from this Torah portion. Sometimes you are fascinated by the stories that we read in our Bible, especially in this portion, which is full of beautiful stories, actually. But behind every story, there is a message, the moral of the story. And we need not miss that. We are living today in what Shaul refers to as the period during which love will turn cold. And we are living in those days. Love is cold all around us. That's why I enjoy your warm greeting. Finally, there's someone who's warm when you hug him. We are living in those days. No care in the world whatsoever. Living in a time when no one cares for the others. Even in Malta. I mean, you know how small Malta is? You need a magnifying glass to find it on the map. But there's a new phenomenon coming in. Very recently, in just 2 weeks, 3 gang fights. And when I say gang fights, one gang against one person. And you see them kicking the person. And this person who was kicked hit her head on a pole. And somebody's going like, man, did you hear that bang? And they are enjoying it. And what they are doing, they are filming it and putting it on social media. Where is the kindness? Where is the justice? We are blessed. In Malta, where the congregation is like half your number. But again, like you, we are blessed. Why? Because we're a small group. More than a congregation, we are a family. One falls, and we are there not to take pictures and put them on social media, but we are there to offer our hands to help. Twice, we had 2 accidents lately. After we finished the service, and one was during the service. But everybody was there. All of us. Not one person missing. And we could help each other. We could show kindness. Anyway, in his book, The Insecurity of Freedom, Abraham Joshua Haskell says, human self-interest is often our nemesis. It is the audacity of faith that redeems us. To have faith is to be healed of one's normal thoughts, to transcend confused motivations. Mere knowledge or belief is too feeble to be a cure of men's hostility to men. The only remedy is personal sacrifice, like Abraham's. To abandon, to reject what seems dear and even plausible for the sake of the greater truth. To do more than one is ready to understand for the sake of God, not for ourselves. God required is a breakthrough, a leap of action, he says. It is the deed that will purify the heart. The deed is the test, the trial, and the risk. And this is what inheriting the faith of Abraham is all about. This is what this Torah portion is teaching us. This week's Torah message is all about faith and works. They go together. And this is what Abraham was. In fact, something that Abraham and Sarah were known for was their hospitality. Being kind and acting justly with everyone. This is something that even our Master Yeshua referred to many times. For example, in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Also in his instructions for us to feed the poor, dress the naked, give drink to the thirsty, visit the sick and the people in prison. What about the Beatitudes that we read this morning? It's all about being kind and helping others. All these things are part of what Abraham's faith consists of. We simply need to look at what is happening in this week's Torah portion to be able to connect faith with good works. We read in the Torah that Abraham was sitting in front of his tent. And Jewish tradition says it was in the third day of his circumcision when the three guests appeared to Abraham. And the Bible tells us that the men of Shechem were still incapacitated after 3 days of them being circumcised. And that they were unable to defend themselves and they died by the sword of Simeon and Levi. And here we have Abraham at 99 years old going through the same pain and discomfort. Yet, the Torah tells us that when Abraham saw the three men, he stepped out of his comfort zone. The Torah says that he ran to go and greet them, and that he also prostrated himself in front of them. Torah also tells us that he had hurried to the tent to ask Sarah to prepare a meal. Why do you need to say that he hurried? Because it tells us something. Even though he was in pain, he did not just go there walking, limping. He ran. He ran to where the sheep were, grabbed one and took it to his servant. Abraham also carried the food back to the three men. So here we have Abraham at 99 years old in great pain and discomfort, but still serving the Lord. And this is something that some still need to get. We must go on. We can never allow ourselves to get tired. Again, we cannot allow fatigue to take over. What happens if we get tired? If we get tired, we fall back in line. And then Amalek will come from behind and will attack us. Why? Because we are weak, we are tired. We cannot allow that to happen. We all know who Amalek is. You know who his great-grandfather was, yes? Esau. The spirit of Antichrist. So the moment we say, oh, okay, I'm tired today, I'm going to sit here and do nothing. That's when the spirit of anti-Messiah will come and attack us. We cannot allow for us to be tired. Yes, it is a daily struggle, I know. And that's why Shaul said, every day you need to renew your mind. Every day we need to get down on our knees and ask God to help us. And He will give us again the strength of the lion to face another day. Now, have you ever wondered why did God chose to visit Abraham just after him being circumcised? Had he attained a higher level of state of righteousness after being physically circumcised? Would the three men have visited Abraham had he not been circumcised in his heart as well? And this is what I think. I don't think so. If we want to truly be in the presence of God, there needs to be a circumcision of the heart from our behalf. And when we are circumcised in our hearts, two things will happen. The love for the God of Israel and the love towards our neighbors will increase. And this is what Yeshua told us when he was walking on earth. He said, loving God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and loving your neighbor as yourself are the two greatest commandments. Actually, this is what Yeshua will be teaching us when he comes again. When he comes again, he will be teaching us the Torah. That's why the word says that the Torah will come out of Zion. But it is our duty to bring the nations into Israel, to be able to stand there in front of Yeshua and, along with us, listen to our Master. And this kind of love that Yeshua is talking about, it has nothing to do with the kind of love, how the world understands that love is. Love is a verb. It has nothing to do, it is not something that we simply feel when we see someone. It has nothing to do with the goose and pimples you get when you see your soulmate. The kind of love that Abraham is showing us in this portion is a kind of love that makes you want to do something. Even when, if like Abraham, you are going through a difficult time. It's the change in our heart that God is looking for. And this is why he chose Abraham. It is not only because of his monotheistic faith, but also because of his actions, because of his faith. It was no longer about him. Now it's all about God. The life of faith is a life of testing. And no one knows this better than Abraham, the father of our faith. And we all love to go around and declare that that we have that kind of faith. Yes, Abraham is our father. And this is what Abraham is best known for. He was famous for his faith. He still is. We talk of him as the father of our faith. But what about the other two traits? What about kindness and hospitality, justice? When are we going to start talking about this? Never has the world been living as like in the days of Noah as it is today. 10 generations from Abraham, during Noah's, and the world was opposing the truth. 10 generations from Noah, and Abraham is living amid a pagan world. And it goes on repeatedly. Today, it is the same. Opposition to the truth is raging around us. Literally raging. Ask yourself, are you able to be kind to those who oppose your belief and ridicule you because of it? Are you ready to shake the hands of your kidnapper? Your opposer? Of those who want to annihilate your nation? Of those who want to wipe your people out? You know what I'm talking about, yes? You all saw that old lady who was released from being a hostage. And she shook the hands of her kidnapper and said, Shalom. Are we able to do that? Maybe that woman does not believe in Yeshua as her Lord and Master. But what she did is what Yeshua did hanging on the cross. He forgave his enemies. It is true that we are of the household of Abraham. Spiritually, we are his children. We have his faith, or at least we should. But apart from his faith, we should have also inherited these two traits. Kindness and hospitality. It's the two important things that Abraham and Sarah had. Both invested their time, their strength, and their energy in discipling their household and those who came along. The vision of Abraham, of conscience, calls us to see the tower burning and to be the hands of the Master, the hands of the divine, in putting out those flames. Overcoming ourselves. Our narrow self-interest takes risk, takes sacrifice, and takes the moral courage to go against the grain of society, to shatter idols and to demand justice and equality. Thinking about it, the deed itself is the risk. And that's why sometimes we do not risk. We prefer to lay back, step back and go away from what is happening, from what we can repair in this world. Abraham risked everything to pursue a new way of being in the world. He was called to be a blessing. What are we willing to risk to renew the way of being into our world? How can we be a blessing in a damaged, fallen world? Are we following in the footsteps of our father Abraham and making disciples as he did? If not, don't worry. It's never too late. Just take time to invest in others. Not only by teaching the faith, but also by being kind and hospitable to others. It's good to come here and teach the faith. But I need to be an example. We are commanded to love them, and we are commanded to teach them. We are commanded to teach them how to live the principles of the scriptures. So, let's do our best. And through our actions and deeds, and by being kind and by exercising justice, let's work hard to be the soul makers like our father Abraham. Amen? Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.